Welcome home, family and fellow citizens of the African Order. I'm here with another video, but before I get into it, I want to talk briefly about this COVID-19. The numbers that they projected that we're going to die from this affliction has come down a great deal. And they say it's due to the fact that everybody's, doing very well at exercising the necessary precautionary measures to reduce the contraction and spreading of this virus. Washing hands, maintaining a social distance, sanitizing. But this is by no means mean that we need to, take our eyes off the prize and take our foot off the pedal. We got to still steam ahead and get this thing behind us as quickly as possible. And if you see anybody, which you may, not exercising the necessary precautions, let's not use this opportunity to disparage them. Let's, show some compassion and encourage them to do the right thing, because we need everybody to get on board with this. So we don't have to go through this ever again. So that being said, let me get into the topic of this video, which is, if you wasn't surprised then, how can you be surprised now? When it comes to the act of the process it took to bring our people into slavery and the act of being a slave, it took a devastating toll on our people in two ways: physically and mentally. Physically, all the labor, all the unpaid labor that we put into making this country robbed us of the wealth that we should have rightfully obtained. And the mental damage that going through slavery cost us is even more reprehensible, because we were taught by our oppressor, and this continued on. It got us as a people to act in ways that goes against our interests. And these lessons started off during Christianity. They taught you scripture: obey your earthly master, loving your enemy. And one of the scriptures they taught was, they still use today, and blacks still accept today, was the story in Genesis, chapter 50, 15 through 21. It tells of the story of Joseph, whose brothers turned him over to the king, and the king made Joseph a slave. Once Joseph showed the king that he can interpret dreams, the king elevated him, and Joseph became very powerful. And at one point, Joseph, I believe, became king. His brothers were then fearful that he may retaliate against them, but Joseph had no part of that. Churches today still use this scripture to quell the anger or resentment that blacks may have, and we still accept it. Whenever you talk about blacks building their own, they look at that as some type of bitterness or resentment that you have, or not appreciative of what whites provided you, as if you shouldn't have this ability in the first place. And that's nothing should be further from the truth than that. But like I said, being taught by our oppressor gets us to think and act in ways that goes against our best interests. We, as a people, we love our enemies, but we dislike our own. We worship a white God as opposed to worshiping a black God. We plan with our enemy, and we plot against our own people. All these things serves against us. We even replace the fear we have of God that stop us from doing what's wrong and replace it with the fear of whites that stop us from doing what's right. We've become immoral as a people, unloving, quick to anger against our own, and we will accept any social behavior that whites put before us, not to draw their anger. So when you see people today acting against their best interests, if it didn't shock you then, why is it shocking you now? For people who will not come together to fight racism, why are you shocked when they won't stay apart to fight coronavirus? You know, before I leave this video, I want to say this. In I think the guy said 78. The doctor from Harvard said that they graduated more doctors in 1978, black doctors, than they did in 2015. When you look at what's going on in this world today, surrounding this coronavirus, when you look at the affliction that's taken on our people, you know, no matter what percentage we have, whether it's 20% of the population, 15% of the population, 5% of the population, whatever affliction hit it, it's going to always hit us 3 and 4 and 5 times what our percentage is. Now, out of the 20% of the population in one city, all the deaths associated to blacks are 70%. You could have blacks in Connecticut, 1% of the population of the whole state, but they comprise 70% of the people that inhabit the prison. Now, the reason why I brought up this statistic in 1978 about doctors, when you see numbers like that, that is a complete failure of the system that we're up under. There's no way on earth coronavirus should have come from Wuhan, China, all the way to the U.S., and you wait till it get here before you start to plan an attack against it. That should have been done over there. When blacks are suffering 3 and 4 times their percentage rate, that is a complete breakdown of the system that we're up under. That is all the reason we need to create our own. Now imagine if in 1978, if we had more doctors, of all the doctors we graduated in 1978, headed a medical team that just looked over black people. That's your only charge. Maintain the health and well-being of blacks. Where would we be as a people if we had all the blacks in 1978 who graduated with agricultural skills, engineers, scientists, lawyers, and their only charge was to look after and safeguard blacks? Where would we be as a people if we had, in 1970, if we had that many doctors coming out of Harvard? I mean, not Howard University. Imagine the doctors, the nurses, you have your own hospitals, your own clinics. You have jobs wrapped around these industries. This is how you create infrastructure, which is a series of businesses and needs and people to safeguard and protect our way of life. We are passing up opportunity after every time a graduating class receives its diploma, and we take our people and put it into a system while we are still suffering. This is why they say when America gets catch a cold, blacks get pneumonia, because we're taking all our talent, all our ability, and putting it into a system that continuously and historically has failed our people, as opposed to taking them and putting them over there and making our people our priority. Right now, our people are in hospitals dying. You can't even visit them. You don't know what's going on. You don't know if they've received an adequate care, treatment, or whatever. We have to take their word for it. And at this point in time, we can't take the word of our enemy on nothing. They have continued to manipulate us, and they will continue to manipulate us if we don't do anything about it. And after this COVID-19 passes by, we need to be about the means and execution of a plan to change that. That is my desire. That is my goal. That is my intention, to do exactly that. So I'm going to end this video here. And with this video, with all my videos, it is to inspire my people for the complete liberation of our people. And I love you all, and I'll see you in my next video. Ashe.